Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to graph your data in order to look at the relationship between two variables. On my screen, I have Excel open, and you can see that I'm looking at the Big 5 compulsive internet use data set. And I have 4 columns in this data set. The first column is the participant ID column, which is not useful for our analyses, but just tells us who each individual participant is using a random identifier. Our next column has the average score for each participant on the extroversion scale. The next column has the average score for every participant on the neuroticism scale, and the last column has every student's score on the compulsive internet use scale. And you actually had the opportunity to try these 3 scales in this homework assignment. So in order to add a graph of our data, we first need to figure out which variables we're interested in graphing. So in our case, we're looking at the relationship between extroversion and compulsive internet use, as well as the relationship between neuroticism and compulsive internet use. So let's first start by looking at extroversion and compulsive internet use. What we do is we select the 2 columns that we care about, and then we go to Insert, and we pick what kind of graph we want. In this case, we want a scatter plot with extroversion on the x-axis and compulsive internet use on the y-axis, though we could easily have it be the other way around. And we pick the first kind of scatter plot that Excel offers. So here's what our data looks like. So our x-axis is extroversion and our y-axis is compulsive internet use. So this data point right here is a person who had a score of roughly 1 on the extroversion scale overall and a score of roughly 3 on the compulsive internet use scale. So looking at this data, we just see individual points for each of the participants, and so it's kind of hard to tell what the direction of the data is. We can get a better sense of the data by adding a trend line. So to do that, we go up to Add Chart Element, and we select Trend Line, and we're using a linear trend line in this case. And you can see that a flat line appears on our data to indicate the general direction of the data. And we can make it a little bit more visible by adjusting both the width and also making it not dashed. And let's change the color in order to make it stand out more. So now you can see that the general direction for this data is pretty flat, which suggests that there actually isn't a relationship between extroversion and compulsive internet use. If you think about what a correlation might look like, when 2 variables have no correlation or not related, the line is flat as well. So that would be a correlation that's close to 0. And that's what we expect we'll see when we actually calculate the correlation between these 2 variables. Now let's take a look at the neuroticism scale and its relationship to compulsive internet use. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this this graph. And now we're going to look at neuroticism and compulsive internet use. So again, we're going to go to Insert, and we're going to pick a scatter plot, and the very first one. And here is our graph of the relationship between these 2 variables. So for example, this point right here is a student whose neuroticism average score was somewhere between 1 and 2, and whose compulsive internet use score was somewhere between 1 and 2 as well. So again, looking at the data, we need a trend line to give us a sense of the direction of the data. So we go to Add Chart Element, Trend Line, Linear, and there's our line again. Let's make it a little bit more visible. And here we can see that the direction of this line is upwards, which suggests that there is going to probably be a positive correlation between neuroticism, which is on our x-axis, and compulsive internet use, which is on our y-axis, meaning that as the scores for neuroticism go up, the scores on the compulsive internet use scale will also go up as well. So we will be able to investigate that when we calculate the correlations as well.